I'd like to give all glory and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Makakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles that have taught this truth and continue to teach this truth. Shalom to you sincere Akim and you sincere sisters that are steadfast in this truth. Um, Without delay, we're going to hop right into this lesson. But first, I'd like to go over the review slash study slash correction notes from the last lesson, and then we can proceed and continue our read of Esther chapter 4 after we go over those notes. And so let's get into the first, let's get into our notes.
That you know that when it came to bowing to Mordecai, he wasn't, he didn't, he did not bow to that man because he was being proudful. His reason for not bowing is that the only person that he's in servitude to and that he serves is Yahweh.
And so, let's pause right there. And in this part of the lesson, essentially what I was saying was, or what I meant to say, that I had stated incorrectly, is that Mordecai was the one that did not bow. Okay. And so what I meant to say is Mordecai bowing to Haman. Okay, and I may have, and there ain't no I may, I did mistake that, and I wanted to get in there and bring a highlight and correction to that. Let's get into the next note here, next timestamp of this lesson. We're going to jump into it right about here.
Okay, and not only, and basically what this verse is saying is that not only did he want to lay hands on Mordecai for, you know, his perceived disrespect from Mordecai, you know, he wanted to lay hands on all the people. Do you understand?
Okay, and so let's pause right there. And so um, all the people, that's essentially what I was, um, 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 essentially what I was trying to point out is that Haman not only wanted to lay hands on Mordecai, but he wanted to lay hands on the people of Mordecai. Why? Because they were Jews. Okay, and we discussed this um, in the last lesson about Haman being the son of Hamadatha, the Agagite. Okay, and the Agagites being Amalek, and uh, we went into Psalms 83 and 5, where Yahweh had gave us a breakdown of all of our enemies, and Amalek was one of our enemies, and so uh, uh, Haman's hatred is a deep, long-standing hatred that is within his soul, is within his spirit for our people. Do you understand? Okay, and so um, when when the news of who his people are, when the news came to him that they were Jews, it just set him on fire to another level. You understand? And he wanted to lay hands on both him and lay hands on Mordecai and his people, which are the Jews, the children of Israel, our people.
So let's.
Okay, so let's get to the next timestamp. We got one more that I'd like to go over and bring some clarity to, and then we can jump into today's lesson after this last review and correction here. So give me 1 second here. Okay.
Um, um, and Haman, the Agagite. I just wanted to pull out all that information so you could get a better understanding and a better picture of Haman, his mindset, and why. And then I hope that uh, the precepts that I brought out about Mordecai gave you a better understanding about Malachi and his mindset for why he did not bow. Okay, all right, which was a beautiful reason because he's serving Yahweh. Uh,
Okay. And basically, I just wanted to jump in there again and make it clear that, so we don't confuse or lose anyone. Uh, I misspoke again. Um, uh, the person that we're discussing is Mordecai. Okay. And Mordecai was the one that did not bow, or, that refused to bow to Haman. Okay. And so Mordecai refused to bow to Haman. Okay. And so I just wanted to get in there, um, go over those few uh, misspeaks, where I had in my excitement for the lesson, uh, um, misspoke and didn't realize that I misspoke, and I wanted to get in there and give some correction on that. Okay, you know, we want to make sure that when we're presenting that we're right and exact. Okay, and that we're giving up the truth. And so, let us continue. Um, let us get into um, let's get into our lesson of the day, um, which is the read of chapter 4 of Esther. We're going to continue our study. And so, without any further delay, I want to, um, without any further delay, let's get into it. Let's get into this King James Version here. And so, when Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes and went out into the midst of the city and cried with a loud and bitter cry and came even before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. And in every province, wherever so the king's commandment and his decree came, there was a great mourning among the Jews, and fasting and weeping and wailing. And many lay in sackcloth and ashes. So Esther's maids and her chamberlains came and told her. Then was the queen exceedingly grieved, and she sent raiment to clothe Mordecai, and to take away his sackcloth from him, but he received it not. Then called Esther for Hathach, one of the king's chamberlains, whom he had appointed to attend upon her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai, to know what it was and why it was. So Hathach went forth to Mordecai onto the street of the city, which was before the king's gate. And Mordecai told him all that had happened unto him, and the sum of the money that Haman had promised to pay the king's treasuries for the Jews to destroy them. Also, he gave him a copy of the written, pardon me, also he gave him a copy of the writing of the decree that was given at Shushan to destroy them, to show it unto Esther, and to declare it unto her, and to charge her that she should go in unto the king to make supplication unto him, and to make a request before him for her people. And Hathach came and told came and told Esther the words of Mordecai. Again Esther spake unto Hathach, and gave him commandment unto Mordecai. All the king's servants and the people of the king's province do know that whosoever, whether man or woman, shall come unto the king into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law of his, to put him to death, except such to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter, that he may live. But I have not been called to come unto the king these 30 days. And they told to Mordecai Esther's words. Then Mordecai commanded to Esther, think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Jews. For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. Okay? And I want you to mark that in your mind. And a precept comes to mind on that one too. It escapes me, but I'll circle back around on that when it'll come back to me. It escaped me, but let's read that again. For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Heavy. Mark that in your mind. And so, save thy life, lose thy life. You understand? But if you give your life, you'll save your life. And so let us continue. Then Esther bade them return Mordecai this answer. Go, gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast you for me, and neither eat nor drink 3 days, nor night, 3 days, night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise, and so will I go on to the king, which is not according to the law. If I perish, I perish. So Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther had commanded him. That's a heavy piece right there. And there's a precept. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can find that. Okay, I'm not gonna drag this lesson out any further looking for that precept, but let's get into a let's get into another precept, um, and let's get into the mind and the thoughts, the deeper thoughts, the mindset of Queen Esther. So let's go into it. Okay, and so this is Esther additions. This would be 14 verse 15. Thou knowest all things, O Yahweh. Thou knowest that I hate the glory of the unrighteous, and abhor the bed of the uncircumcised. and of all the heathen. Thou knowest my necessity, for I abhor the sign of my high estate, which is upon my head, and the days wherein I show myself, and that I abhor it as a menstruous rag, and that I wear it not when I'm private by myself, and that thy handmaiden hath not eaten at Haman's table, and that I have not greatly esteemed the king's feast, nor drunk the wine of the drink offerings, neither had thy handmaiden any joy since the day that I was brought hither to the present, but in thee, O Yahweh of Abraham. Okay? And so that was, that gives you, I hope that precept gives you some great mindset as to what was on her mind uh, as, um, as she sat in that seat as the queen. Okay? She didn't take no joy in that, basically. All right? At all. You understand? Okay? So not only just being there, and then that decree just took it to another level. Okay? And so I'm not going to drag this lesson out too much further. Um, that's the end of chapter 4. Um, the next lesson, we'll continue our read, and we'll jump into chapter 5, and we'll continue. We'll continue um, through to conclusion. Um, uh, Thank you so much for listening. I hope that this lesson and this read um, offers to you a, a great and peaceful walking meditation, and a great and peaceful study for you in the evening. Thank you for listening. Shalom.